Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Salsa Kings Live, episode 26, Dance Industry Mastery. We have a very special episode here for you today with, as of very recently, a great friend who has been doing absolute wonders in the scene across every platform whatsoever, which is actually what we're going to be talking about today, about basically how to get to the top spot if you're involved in this industry in whatever facet that you're talking about. I mean, this man has been a top DJ, a top performer, a top instructor, a top event organizer. I mean, you name it, jack of all trades, this guy has done it, and he's doing it well. And it's not so much just for me saying it. We're talking about checking your results all the way through. And for those of you that take classes with me, you know how important that is, basically being able to shape, change, recycle, etc. on things or maximizing things that do work, changing things that don't, and continuing to move forward. Tiguere and Mambo, Rudi Lopez is the managing director of Island Touch Dance Academy for over 10 years now. Go ahead, check them out, Instagram, social media, their own website. Everything is on there as well. You'll be able to check out this amazing organization. A bachata DJ for over 8 years. But has recently did amazing in Mambo land. They absolutely loved him, so he's a great salsa DJ as well. Instructor and performer as well for over 8 years, and event organizer of Touch events. They've been doing, or they have done over 20 events over the past 7 years. As far as for this year is concerned, we're talking about the Chicago Salsa and Bachata Festival, which is March 22nd, that weekend. And then you also have, that's the Chicago Salsa and Bachata Festival. And then you have the Tampa Salsa and Bachata Festival on Thanksgiving weekend, which they're calling Dance Giving. Beautiful, wonderful, all the way through. Guys, if you have received the notification for this, wonderful. If you have not, for the live interview, go ahead and the comments below, text the word or type the word join, and you'll be able to receive a notification directly to your Facebook Messenger to go ahead and hop on whenever we go ahead and do the live webisodes. If you're hearing the audio version of this, go ahead and text the word join, J-O-I-N, to the number 69922 to as well be able to receive the notifications of when it is that we do go live. Let me go ahead and hide this this crawler really quick. If you like my shirt, straight out of salsa class, go ahead and check them out on our website, mydanceshirts.com. We just released a few more as well, so go ahead and hop on there, check it out. They're super comfortable. I go out with them all the time, and they definitely bring a smile to people's faces. Without further ado, we're going to bring on the man, El Tigre del Mambo. Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Hey,
what's going on, brother? How you doing, man?
I'm well. How are you?
Man, thank you so much for coming on board, bro. I appreciate your time, man. De verdad, de corazón.
No, thank you for having me on. It's an honor.
Beautiful, brother. Beautiful. So we have El Tigre del Mambo with us, man. And I was just telling these guys that you're killing the game, bro. You're killing the game. Someone like myself, honestly, really appreciates what you do. From a business perspective, being able to create a platform for others to push themselves in the Latin dance scene in multiple facets, which I believe what we will be talking about today. For those of you that don't know, all of our podcast webisodes, we allow our guests to choose what is it that they would like to talk about or something that they deliver value to. And we actually ended up concluding on dance industry mastery, meaning Tigre has basically jack of all trades, man, and you've been killing the game with everything, bro. But before we go into that, tell us a little bit about yourself, bro. Starting from square one, bro. Where were you born? Are you Cuban? Are you Puerto Rican? How did you get in this dancing thing? Was it a chick? Talk to us, bro. I
say aquí no hay bola, pero I would love.
There you go.
My mother's from Puerto Rico. My father's from the Dominican Republic. I was born in Rochester, New York. And I grew up there until I was around 12 years old. And then after that, I moved to Tampa, Florida. Spent a really long time there. I'm not going to tell you how long, or else you're going to know that I'm old, really old. But I spent a long time in Tampa, and that's basically my family background. And now I currently live in Orlando, Florida, with Ataca y La Alemana.
Nice, brother. And how is that going?
Oh, well, unfortunately, although we've been living there since December 28th, I've only been there for 5 days. But the time that we've been there have been really, really good.
Beautiful.
Yeah, we got to hang out, do a party with Salsa Heat. That was really good. Make sure you check out Haven on Sundays. They showed us a good time for the Super Bowl party.
Amen. I love it. Awesome, man. Okay, cool. So, all right. So then, I guess how did dance kind of tie in? I mean, I know it ends up, at least for me, I was, for those of you that don't know, I was born in the United States, and in South Florida. So dance is kind of something that I fell into. It wasn't around me in my family when I was born. What was the case for you?
Well, dance specifically, both my mother and my father were heavily into music, listening to it around the house. My father played music. All my uncles from my father's side played music. But dance specifically, I got exposed to at a very young age. My mother used to take me out to the Latin cafes that, come 10 p.m. would turn into a nightclub. So you'd be eating arroz bichuela carne, and then all of a sudden the salsa comes on, and my mom would bring me out on the dance floor. And so, I kind of do my little cumbia step there and get really excited. And that was kind of how I got my first passion for actual social dancing with my mom out on the clubs.
That's awesome. Okay. So then how did it get to become a little bit more formalized, if you will? Was that just kind of like on your own account? Was there someone that kind of brought you in? How did that work?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think a lot of people have this experience, right? You get out of a relationship and you start looking for social things to get involved in. And so some friends of mine told me, hey, you should go out Latin dancing. There's some salsa clubs that you should go to. So I went out to a regular nightclub called High Park Cafe. It used to be promoted by Dynasty Events. My boy Juancito in the building. And I saw a guy dancing with this girl, and they looked pretty cool. So I asked the girl to dance, and when she danced with me, she did not have the same smile on her face that she did with him. He was doing all these crazy things.
Oh, I hear you, bro.
And I said, man, I immediately after the dance with her, I walked up to the guy and I said, listen, do you teach people how to do that? Because I want to learn how to do that. And the very next week, I started taking social dance classes, and at the very beginning, I didn't know the difference between on one, on two, and casino. And I was actually taking all three at the same time. And it took me about a month to realize that they were different.
Oh, man. I hear you, bro. Man, that can really be confusing. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then I, as I kept on doing that, I was directed to a school called Salsa Caliente, where I met now my brother. His name is Jorge Burgos, also known as Ataca Georgie. And him and I became friends, and we actually worked together at a mortgage company. And when the mortgage industry kind of took a hit, we decided to start this thing called Island Touch Dance Academy. 4 months later, we hit the lottery. He met a beautiful young lady by the name of Tanya Kensinger, also known as La Alemana. And they started tinkering around with some bachata moves, and everything is history after that. Everything just really took off.
Wow, man. That's fantastic, bro. That's wonderful, man. Felicidades. Congratulations, bro. That's awesome, man.
Thank you.
When taking it back a little bit, at what age did that whole scene with that guy and that girl happen?
I was 27 years old when I took my first salsa class in Tampa, Florida. Beautiful. With Daniel Pineda. Shout out to your first instructor, guys. Never forget who taught you that basic step.
Absolutely. 100%. Beautiful, brother. Cool, man. All right. So then now, I guess it started off with the academy. Am I right? You're saying that you with Ataga, you started to open up what is now Island Touch Dance Academy. Yes. Mm-hmm. And then I guess, where did it go from there? How long before? Because I mean, if we're going to transition into this, El Tigre de Mambo is jack of all trades. Where at what points did you start to do what? At what point did you start to transition into other things?
For sure. So when we first started, our initial focus, we had some long-term plans. We had 5-year goal, 10-year goal, 20-year goals. But our first goal was to create high-level instructors that could be contracted within the Latin dance community, and kind of started already with some kind of a franchise concept. Ataka was the creative director, and I was marketing and strategic management, things of that nature. So he kind of put together all of our dance styles and techniques, teaching methods, anything that has to do with the way we dance or the way we teach the way we dance. All of that is due to his research and his creative mind and creative genius in dance. And so it started to develop from there. And then as we began to learn and understand the market more, we started incorporating Latin dance festivals, attending them, teaching. At that time, YouTube was starting. I have an internet background, and so we started utilizing social media to start promoting our stuff. And then also Tanya, La Alemana's, one of her good friends, was also pretty savvy as well, and had her own YouTube channel, and loaded the first performance that Ataka and La Alemana ever did together, which is called the Extraño video. And that kind of catapulted us on a global scene to get some exposure outside of Tampa. And that kind of really pushed the demand for Ataka La Alemana to start teaching outside of Tampa. So as they were doing that, I was focused on the local scene in Tampa, hosting socials, teaching locally as they traveled. You know, at the beginning, it was once or twice a month. And then, you know, over the years, it kind of picked up. About 2.5, 3 years into it, when we decided to do a pro team, Ataka and Alemana were directing a pro team out of Tampa. We were building it. We lost one of our guys, and we had a really talented young lady, and we didn't want to kind of leave her stranded. We didn't have a backup guy. So we were like, what do we do? You know, and I said, I'll try it. Like, you know,
all right.
At that time, you know, I was 40 pounds heavier than I am now. And, you know, I was just used to sitting and eating good food and playing the music at the socials.
Right.
But I've had stage experience and stage presence. So I figured I wasn't scared to get up there and perform. I said, look, Ataka, if you show me how to do the stuff you guys are doing in your rehearsals, I'll try and I'll put in the best. And, you know, I started learning the choreographies. The young lady's name was Francesca Garrido. I lost like 30-something pounds in a couple of months just going to the studio and just rehearsing and training. And one thing led to another. I started dancing on the pro team. We started traveling together. And then, you know, very early on, the promoters would ask what I was going to teach. And since Ataka and Alemana teach their style, touch bachata, and me having a Dominican background, I decided to do what's called Dominican touch, which is basically a fusion of Ataka and Alemana's bachata style with a little bit more of the more traditional or older school Dominican movements. And then obviously being Dominican, adding some of the cultural flair and pizzazz to it. And that's kind of how I started teaching. And then obviously started traveling as a DJ and creating my own mixtapes. And I was throwing them back up on SoundCloud back in the day. And so
yeah, that's right.
But when they used to allow you to upload non-original content, you know, so I got a lot of plays and streams off of that. And so I was getting a lot of promotion as a DJ as well back then.
Phenomenal. Nicole, thanks for the love. Nicole Cedino is giving you some love there.
Hey, girl.
Yeah. Love it. Awesome, man. Okay. All right. Cool. So, all right. So then you opened up the school, started working. Your team started working.
Mm-hmm.
There, all of a sudden, it became a demand for an extra guy. You stepped up to the plate. Then you kind of fell into the DJ game as just kind of like filling the need for your business, I'm assuming. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been passionate about music since I was very young, always listening to music, but I actually wanted to be a rapper when I was growing up, not a DJ.
What? All right.
Fun fact, I opened up for Shock G when I was 15 in Ybor City in Tampa, Florida.
Yes.
So For those of you who don't know who that is, that's a very old hip hop person. There's no dabbing or anything back then. But DJing just came naturally. Fortunately for me, I'm not a turntablist or anything like that. I'm not scratching. That takes a lot more studying and skills. But I mix. That didn't take very long to learn. And then really the most important thing, especially for the Latin dance scene in a DJ, is what's called programming. And so, the music selection is what I specialize in. And I've always been good at that because I grew up listening to the music and really enjoy the music.
One thing to touch on that I would like to ask, because you were talking about your style when you were teaching your workshops, etc.
Mm-hmm.
There seems to be this is like a side note, there seems to be kind of like a battle between like sensual bachata, where they're calling sensual bachata, and then your classic traditional or Dominican style. What you said that is it your mother's Dominican?
No, my mother's Puerto Rican, my father's Dominican.
Your father's okay. So what is someone who is Dominican? What is your take on? Because I respect it all. I definitely respect it all. There just seems to be like a big, opposite end. When it comes to this thing, there's even people saying that that's not bachata at all. Like what? How do you take that away, bro? Because I know that there's a lot of stuff, but at the same time, thank God that there's been so much exposure to it in general, because bachata has grown a lot recently, perhaps because of all these changes. But I guess, how do you feel about the classification of it, of what is new and the rules on that, I guess?
Yeah. I mean, I think the first thing that's really important is to differentiate between the music and the dance, right?
Okay.
And, because they're not the same thing. And you can't have the dance without the music. So the music, in my opinion, is more important than the dance. And yeah, right now you kind of have these two polar opposites, these two gangs that have formed, where on one side you have the Dominican squad, and it's people who've never been to the Dominican Republic, but they got like a DR tattoo on their face or something, and they're just super passionate, and I appreciate those people. And then on the other side, you got the super hypersensual people that are just super sexy and all up, and they just, all they want is sensual. And I think for me in life, extremes generally aren't good, and you want balance. So that's kind of my 30,000 foot take on it. When you start drilling down into the music, I think what's most important to differentiate right now, and my main concern with how things are going musically, is that there has been an introduction of what I call bongo chata, which is where, a DJ is driving him down the freeway in his car. He hears his favorite song and he goes, oh my God, if I just put a bongo on this song, it will magically transform into bachata. And that is not true. Okay.
Okay.
Not only is it not true, but the problem is that's extremely easy to do. So you have a bunch of DJs that yesterday nobody knew who they were, and then today they take Beyonce's hottest new song or Cardi B's new song, they put bongos on it, and all of a sudden they're getting millions of views because Cardi B's fans are looking for the song and finding that. Or people who don't know what bachata is hear, oh, that's cool. I like Cardi B. I like this reggaeton rhythm. This is an awesome song. So that is really the main concern I have from a musical perspective. And so some people go to the extreme and they don't like what are called remixes. And I think that's now crossing the line. As long as the rhythm is bachata, it can be a remix, it can be a cover, it can be good. I love it. If you go to latinremixes.com, you'll find a ton of really high quality bachata remixes done by people like Soultrix, Dimensions, DJ Dex, DJ Khalid from Spain. So these are people who take time. They actually create bachata music, bachata rhythms that work, that shouldn't offend anyone, even a Dominican, right? So that's the music, a quick and dirty music side. And that we could talk about this for days. I recommend you go and listen to people like Carlos Cinta, Edward Ferreira. These are people who really study and focus the actual music side of things if you want to get more detail on what is bachata and how to identify bachata.
Hector agrees. Hector Leon agrees with you 100%.
Oh, el León de la Bachata. I remember that guy. Felicidades. So when it comes to the dance, I'm a lot more flexible when it comes to dance because I think physical interpretation of music is a very personal thing. I agree. For definition's sake, though, I think for us to define something as bachata, I would go and say you need to do a step, 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 and then a pause. And in that pause, you can do whatever you want. You can tap, you can triple step, you can cha-cha, whatever. I think that's the core of bachata. Now, when you're dancing to a bachata song, you can dance other things. You can dance reggaeton, you can dance hip hop. My thing is, the more you stop dancing bachata and the more you start doing something else, then that's where we start getting confused as to what are you really dancing. So as long as somebody keeps it mostly bachata, then they're dancing mostly bachata. And a lot of the new songs, even Romeo's songs, have non-bachata breaks in the music where they'll stop and you'll either hear like a trap break or even a reggaeton.
Right.
Great times to dance non-bachata dances, right? But when the bachata comes back on, my friends, dance bachata, please.
Yes.
And last but not least, I think it's very important because I think some people are being too hard on the Europeans. And one of the things that we need to take into consideration when we try to put ourselves in their shoes is that most of these Europeans, they didn't grow up listening to all these different Latin rhythms. So it doesn't physically bother them. There's no muscle memory interruption when somebody plays a reggaeton and tells them to dance bachata. But for a Latino who you grew up, reggaeton has its own dance, bachata has its own dance, salsa has its own dance, merengue has its own dance, rumba has its own dance, cha-cha has its own dance. So if you put on a reggaeton and ask me to dance salsa, it's going to feel really weird to me. But they don't have that experience. So I think we have to, give them a little bit of slack on that and understand that for them, when their instructor, who just got famous off of doing some bachata stuff, says, oh, no, don't worry. This is bachata. This is sensual bachata or whatever bachata they want to call it at the moment. Bachata fusion, special bachata on third level. The names are getting out of control. Either way, I'm not mad at those students because the students don't have a history to the rhythm that's going to make doing that feel awkward.
Right.
So I think
foundation. There's no, like you were saying, muscle memory foundation, or there's no experience when they were a child comparing of what that is. It's all the same. It's all the same to them.
Absolutely. So I think as we go on and we educate the students, then they will start to demand a little more from their instructors. But for now, I think we just kind of let the people who know what they're doing just continue to educate them. Right. But at the end of the day, regardless of what anyone is doing, I think we should not be fighting about it because there's a lot more serious issues in the world to be fighting about.
Amen.
Just don't play bongo chata because then we might have to fight. That's the only time.
Right, there's a line.
That's my line in the dance floor. You start playing bongo chata and I might have to unplug the speakers or something. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Vladdy agrees with you, saying facts. Ramon definitely agrees. Ramon de la Cruz, thanks for the love, brother, saying education is absolutely crucial as well. I agree 100%. But like you said, man, ideally, in a perfect world, the more popular that you are should be the more experienced that you are, which means that you have a larger following, which means you have a larger influence. So that you being the person with the more influence, etc., you should be growing yourself as well to then ultimately be able to deliver the truest message as far as for education is concerned. Again, that's in a perfect world. Obviously, of course, we're in the social media world. You put up the right thing at the right time and you skyrocket, obviously, of course. But in a general sense, definitely, obviously, of course, we just try as best as we can to, educate the beginner student to be able to at least find the right place to look to if they want more.
Yeah, and I think it's important. Sorry to interrupt, but I think it's important that we give credit to the sensual bachata or bachata sensual, because right now they're kind of fighting about who owns the names or what they're going to call it. But people like Chavez and Sylvia, Corketh and Judith, Luis and Andrea, who are using real bachata music. They're dancing to actual bachata rhythms. They're not playing bongo chata. And number two, they know the balance of, hey, look, we're going to do the core, the step, pause, and then we're going to add some of these waves and I don't want my Brazilian fans to get mad at me, but some also zouk movements in there as well. So I definitely am not a fan of bashing all sensual bachata or saying that all sensual bachata is bad. There's actually some really amazing sensual bachata instructors or bachata sensual instructors, and I enjoy watching it. And every now and then I might throw a little in there for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just when the music calls for it, though. Only when the music calls for it.
Right. Absolutely, 100%, man. Cool, brother. Absolutely. Cool, man. All right, so then, that was a hell of a side note, but definitely, I think it's extremely important. So thank you for that insight. Sure. You've been in the game for a while. I can really only speak for just on my studies as far as for casino is concerned. So definitely, someone who's been studying the bachata for a while, definitely much appreciated for that.
Yeah.
Okay, so then now, as far as for you right now, man, you had said that you'd be able to deliver some value for those, looking to get themselves into the business of what is Latin dance.
Gotcha.
It doesn't necessarily have to be dancing, but there's obviously, of course, a million different facets. I mean, there's a club owner, there's an event organizer, there is a DJ, there is the performer, there is the instructor, there is the fashion designer. I don't know, whatever. There's the shoe creator. I don't know. I'm just making stuff. I'm just pulling stuff out of anywhere. I bought this hat. So you know what I mean? Like there's a market. As long as you're able to cater to a market, if you will. Then there's a demand, and I guess ultimately, I'm not sure if you're able to go down, one at a time of what could you, I guess, starting off maybe from the beginning as a managing director of Island Touch Dance Academy. I guess if someone wanted to do that, what would you be able to give to them as far as for nuggets is concerned? And if you don't mind, if you could say it relatively slowly so that I can actually type this out for them as well as far as for bullet points is concerned. We always want to give all of our viewers value.
I think the first thing that anyone should consider when going into business at all is, why am I going into business? Is this something that I'm doing because I need money? Am I doing it because I'm passionate about it? Am I doing this because I want to be happy? So your intentions are very, very important, because business is not the same as hobby. And I one of the most influential books that helped me with my philosophy and my approach to doing business is called The E-Myth by Michael Gerber.
Yes.
And just because you know how to bake pies doesn't mean you're gonna have a great pie shop.
Pie business, exactly.
Yeah. So that's the number two thing is, okay, why am I doing this? Once you define why you're doing it, then you need to understand what doing it actually means, and can you do it on your own? Because most likely running a business on your own, you either don't have all the skills to do it, or two, you're just not going to have a good time doing it, because accounting is part of business. And if you hate sitting on a computer and typing up Excel spreadsheets until 4:00 in the morning, sorry, Tanya, then you're not going to want to do it, and you're going to be miserable. And so you probably shouldn't go into business for yourself, or you should find someone who will handle your accounting, et cetera, and all the other things like marketing and sales. All these things are part of growing a business and having a healthy business. So that would be my second point.
Right, 100%. I just want to stress that, guys, please check out this book. Again, if you're just talking about, and this is not even necessarily, you don't have to be a business owner to read this book. This is just a good understanding of how, I guess you could say, just complex. A lot of people think that, I could just open up a business and no problem, I do this anyways. There's so many other facets that people aren't aware of. And one of those key points that you're saying, brother, and I thank you for this, is that if you're not having a good time, you're going to run out of energy. You're a human being, and you're going to gas out, and eventually you're going to want to give up. And when it comes to something as crucial as owning your own business, when you are directly responsible for your own income, you can't quit, because then your income stops. So right. It's literally just a matter of continuing to go up until the point where you can get into a place where you create passive income for yourself, etc. But that's a whole nother ballgame. But the E-Myth basically explains the difference between the specialist, or you can say, I guess, maybe the employee, the manager, and then the entrepreneur. And the difference between those three, and everyone's trying to do all three of those at the same time. And quickly, those that go in as the specialist, the one that's a pie baker, realizes there's so many other facets to this, and they actually spend very little time baking pies or teaching a class, for example,
or dance,
or DJing, or event organizing, or whatever it is, it is.
Definitely.
So I don't want to stop you, but I definitely wanted to go ahead and throw that in there and recommend. Guys, go ahead, check that out. If you do audiobooks, if you go to the library, cards, free, get one.
What's a library? Oh, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. For sure, people need to read the book, and you don't have to be a business owner to read it. I think you'll get something out of it. So, you start off with, why am I doing this? Then you figure out how you're going to do it, and then you got to plan it, right? And, one of the cool things that I like about Gary Vee is that, he really stresses that you need to be enjoying what you're doing, or at least not hate it. And some people are more than happy making $30,000, $40,000 a year, working 8 to 5, than making millions of dollars a year, working 100 hours a week, dealing with fires of running your own business and the stress of losing money or being embarrassed to be wrong and having to talk to your business partners and explaining to them why things aren't working out. So you got to make sure you have the stomach for it as well, because the lack of security of being an entrepreneur or owning or running your own business is definitely not for everybody. And I think it's extremely important. If you're going to try to live off of dance or live off of any hobby that you have to be able to stomach the stress of insecurity.
Right. Wow, man. Absolutely. Okay. So then let's call that endurance.
Yeah. Sure.
Would you say that that's just endurance in general? Just being able to be, because it's not, man, there's a meme or a photo online that it shows like the heartbeat, and it shows that if you're not like going up and down, because it obviously shows a straight line and it goes boop, right up and down.
Right.
And if you're not going up and down, you're dead. So it's the idea of just the naturalness of the flow of energy of universe. There's ups and then there's downs. Understanding that the downs are part of the process and being able to stomach, like you're saying, these downturns. And as long as your current low is higher than your previous low, then you're on your way up.
That makes sense.
So as long as you don't make the same mistake twice, then you're in good shape. But you just got to know that basically, if you are messing up, then you're in the right direction because you're experiencing something that you've never done before.
Yeah. Trending upwards, trending in a positive direction.
Right. There's another book of the failing forward.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's another one too. So yes. So thank you for that. Okay. So those are great. I could be on this particular topic forever. So let's move on to, okay, so then what? You kind of said that you fell into the DJ.
Yeah.
gig.
So early on, when we were traveling, in order to add value to the promoters, and this is for anyone who's trying to start your own business or live off of dance, you need to find a way to differentiate yourself between yourself and your competition. And one of the ways that we were able, as Island Touch, to add value was to have our own DJ. And so that I took that upon myself. I was DJing, practicing. Shout out to DJ Juancito and DJ Soltrix, I spent plenty of time observing them live in the booth or at my house, taking private lessons from them on how to mix, learning the difference between just regular mixing and harmonic mixing, and all of the little ins and outs about programming, energy in the room, burning the DJ that comes. There's just so much technical stuff to being a DJ other than just playing music. And, fortunately, I had those people to coach me and guide me. And we started adding that value when we were traveling, and then coupling that with promoting and marketing, which is extremely important for all of you who are going to start your own business, is your marketing, your social media. You have to take it seriously. And from very early on, I was putting out my mixes. And one thing that a lesson that I learned 7 years ago, there was a DJ who was really upset with me. He's like, why are you uploading your mixes when they're not great? Your mixes aren't that good yet. And I go, look, I understand they're not. I'm working on them. They're better. I don't think they're trash. However, they give people a good understanding of what to expect when I get there. But had I not done that, people wouldn't have known who I was. And I was getting millions of streams on my mixes. So also be careful as to your detractors. Now, you have to be humble enough to take criticism and advice from everyone, even your haters. However, make sure that when you take the criticism, you think about it critically and say, okay, is this criticism valid or not? And if you can't tell because maybe you get emotional, then go to a confidant, go to a friend and say, hey, friend, they're saying this about me. Am I in my feelings, or does that make sense to you? Because sometimes your haters will teach you a lesson and save you a lot of problems. But yeah, had I listened to that person and not uploaded my mixes, people wouldn't have heard of them. And there were radio stations back then that were downloading my mixes and actually playing them on the radio. So believe in your product, get it out there, and push on it.
I love it.
So that's how the DJ thing happened, and also we create a little bit of a spectacle around the DJ. Early on when I used to come out and DJ, sometimes some of the artists would come out and do little choreographies for me while I was on stage, and just to kind of draw attention, and all those little things add value. And a couple of years ago, started a DJ group called Team Bachata. And we started DJing back-to-back sessions. So it'd be 3 DJs originally. We just added some new ones right now. But the original team was DJ Soltrix, DJ Immersive, and myself. And so each DJ would play 2 songs back-to-back-to-back, and we'd kind of create a different environment. So it's all about, 1, adding value, 2, differentiating yourself, creating something different. But don't create something different just to be different, right? So sometimes now you got instructors or dancers who are adding things that just don't make sense in bachata or salsa, but they just want to be different because they think in order for me to be successful, I got to be different. No, be different, but in a way that adds value and doesn't take away.
Amen. Nice. To comment on your, I guess your hater, if you will, of putting up your stuff when they're not good yet. I actually have to put myself in that place, or I was in that place where I was kind of afraid to go before it was the way that I wanted it to be. Before I knew. I guess it's just perfectionism in general. Like I gotta be right. I know it's gonna be right. And,
Right.
And that has held me back big time, because just like walking, the only way that you're going to get from one place to another is one step at a time.
Right.
And a lot of people also feel unfortunately, for whatever reason, is that people are going to be like, okay, like you said, you have the humility to understand that you're not at the place that you want to go, but you're confident, secure enough to know that you're advancing forward. So a lot of people, it's like, oh, I don't want people to see me as weak. Or there's people like that are professionals that are not taking classes. And it's like, because I don't want my students to see me in class. I'm like, what? That's exactly what a student would want to see is their instructor dedicating themselves and continuing to grow, even if they're able to receive a half of a nugget.
Yeah, no, sorry to interrupt, but that you just reminded me of something that I think is hilarious. 7 years ago, I remember being at a Latin dance festival and seeing an instructor yelling at the top of his lungs, telling people not to record the class. Now, I respect not wanting your class to be recorded during, but I'm talking about even at the end. No, we don't record this at the end. If any of you people upload this material, I'm going to be frustrated. And that person is no longer around. And they used to be an icon in the dance scene. And they're not around, not because they're not good or they couldn't be good, but you've got to be careful. You got to market yourself, and you got to sometimes get out of the old paradigms that restrict you, because some people, not everyone, well, back to what you were saying, right? So not some people are technicians. They're really good salsa dancers, but they're not an entrepreneur. And right. One of the things that Island Touch is most proud about in its contribution to the Latin dance scene is franchise teams. So we created the concept where multiple cities around the world learn the exact same choreography from one choreographer, and that revolutionized, one, not only the learning capabilities of cities around the world, but two, it completely changed the revenue system for artists themselves.
100%.
You know what I mean? And you had certain artists that went from making a couple $100 a month, $1,000 a month, dancing on a globally recognized dance team, to making thousands of dollars a month because of implementing this one concept. And when we first started doing this concept, we were rejected by people. We tried to convince other dancers to do it, and they said, no, people won't like that. Nobody's going to go for that. That doesn't make any sense. So it's very important. This scene is not like that. It might work in another scene, but I think the most important thing or not the most necessarily, but one of the important things to keep in mind when you're putting together business strategies and you're trying to determine how to treat your customers is the one thing your customers have in common with Apple's customers, with the UFC's customers, with the Chicago Bulls customers, is that they're all humans. And human beings have general ways of behaving, needs, and wants. And so whether it be Latin dance or whether it be music or whether it be electronics, you need to take care of your customer and give your customer what they want. So be careful. Be careful when people tell you something's not going to work. Ask them why. They might be right. But if they're just saying, oh, it's not going to work because these people are not like that, then as long as what you're trying to do is rooted in fundamental human needs and human principles, you should be successful in any industry, because any industry needs good customer service.
Absolutely. And there's entire businesses that run their entire business off of that sheer thing. It's just like, we have the best customer service. We provide the same product as everybody else, but you're going to have the best experience with us.
Right.
100%, man. I agree with you 100%, which is phenomenal. Hector Leon says to get your butt to class. Telling people to get your butt to class. Thank you, Hector, for the love. I agree with you, man. Should never stop learning, brother. Always being a student. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in, man. Awesome. Okay, so all right, so we got business owner, we got DJ, appealing to your customer, which is your crowd, feeling the energy, feeling the room, creating something new while still adding value. I feel like this is definitely stuff that's across all spectrums, but definitely understandable how it's applicable to DJ. Okay, so now Atacan a la Manda, they need another guy. So now what?
Okay, so I started dancing. start traveling, created a name for myself as El Tigre del Mambo, bachata instructor, bachata DJ. And then a couple of years goes by, and as we start looking at our business models and things that we feel we could add value to, we decided to start with a good friend of ours named Juan Nunez out of Tampa, Florida. If you need a house, check them out, Zenun Properties. We decided to start Touch Events. And the reason why we started Touch Events is not that there weren't any good events out there or that there weren't enough events out there. However, one of the things that we felt was lacking in the event space was the right blend of old school, high quality workshops and performances, but the social component of the events being a little bit more social, being a little bit more vibrant, having higher energy, and just appealing to a broader demographic where, it just didn't feel stuffy and you were just kind of having a good time. All right. We wanted to be able to turn up, basically, is what I'm saying.
Hey, there you go. All right.
Oh,
okay.
We decided to do that. And that's kind of been our hallmark is really finding the ultimate level of quality in production. We're on time. The show started at 9:00. They're going to start at 9:00. I don't care if it's just your mama and them there. The workshops are going to start on time. The workshops are world-class. The DJs are world-class. The parties are world-class, but we also turn up. We have the after parties. We have pajama parties, and we make everyone feel welcome. So that was really why we started that. And so we started that about 6 years ago, and we've done over 20 festivals. Sometimes we've had to take a festival away, and that's a big lesson you got to learn as a business owner is when sometimes you're doing too much and you're spreading yourself too thin. And have that work-life balance. Mental health is extremely important. A lot of people don't realize that sometimes you work too hard. That can affect your relationships. It can affect your own mental states. So definitely take those things into consideration. So right now we're right at two events. Two events for 2019 is what we feel we can handle with all the other projects going on. If all we did were events, we'd do more. But we definitely plan on adding more events next year and the years afterwards, because we think we can do more than what we're doing now. But Chicago Salsa Bachata Festival coming up March 22nd is going to be absolutely insane. The most important thing that I can tell you about Chicago, shout out Aqua Marina, it's her birthday weekend, is that the locals in Chicago make that event. Every show that goes up, every social dance, just Chicagoans have this beautiful energy and passion for dance, whether it be bachata, salsa, or kizomba, that you don't want to miss it, because it's very rare to have a city that welcoming. And that's why they have multiple successful events. They just had a huge international salsa festival this weekend that did really well. So check us out at CSBF. And then for Dance Giving, that's the last Thursday of, I think it's the fourth Thursday of November. Yes. At the Hilton in Tampa. We've moved the date and it's going well. We're selling crazy amounts of tickets. We've never sold this amount of tickets. People are really excited. We're going to do a Dance Giving dinner on Thursday night. So if you can't see your family, or if your family's doing something, or maybe you don't have family, you can come join your dance family at Tampa, and we're doing a Dance Giving dinner on Thursday. And then Friday, everything starts back to normal. So you could technically go visit your family on Thursday and join us on Friday and have the time of your life. It's a beautiful hotel, wonderful pool. The weather's amazing in November in Tampa. Definitely come check us out. And Tampa has a very vibrant social dance scene. You get the people from Orlando. Shout out Orlando Salsa Congress, 4th of July weekend. There's just really, really good social dancers there. So we've been very fortunate to be able to do events in cities that have amazing social dancers. So definitely come check us out in Tampa.
Beautiful, man. I love that idea for Tampa, bro. To be able to do a Thanksgiving dinner, man. That's awesome, man. That's really, 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 really cool. Salsa Kings will be at both. Woo! Best believe. We're ready, bro. We're ready. We're super excited.
There might be some competition. Right, we added a competition in Chicago. Billy Fajardo. Some of y'all might be in the competitions. That's exciting. Good luck. I'm not a judge. I could say that. Emily
and Raul will be there and doing their competition there. They're definitely super excited about it. So definitely, guys, go ahead and check that out. Is there a way that they'll be able to see either the competitions afterwards?
Yeah.
Is there any way that they'll be
Everything's going to be live streamed on via danceegg.com. And
okay.
you can go to our website or you can go to danceegg.com, but everything's going to be live streamed, and then we'll upload everything to our YouTube channels.
Okay, beautiful. So danceegg.com for the live stream.
Mm-hmm.
That's the competition
and
weekend
the
of
competitions and the shows at night.
Oh, and the shows. Wonderful. Okay, fantastic. Okay. And then the YouTube afterwards.
Yes, sir.
At least in worst case scenario, they'll be able to catch it on YouTube afterwards. Okay, wonderful. Phenomenal. Awesome. Okay, so Tanya, thank you so much. We actually got our URLs here, chicagosalsabachata.com. And then we also have tampasalsabachata.com.
ABC, Tanya, I see you. ABC. Always be closing. Always be closing.
That's right. That's right. I love it. Awesome, man. Cool, brother. Hey, listen, man. Thank you. For real. Thank you. You've definitely delivered a lot of nuggets here. I'm in no way, shape, or fashion cutting you off. But already I feel like, wow. There's definitely a lot. I mean, you starting basically this whole thing up over 10 years ago, and having come this far, again, all I can say is that it's just really much appreciated for someone like myself in the South Florida area to be able to kind of look up to the model. Obviously, of course, it's definitely easier when the road has been at least somewhat paved in the direction that we would like it to go ultimately, which is basically where I feel everybody wants to be, is just in a place where, or in an industry where there's economy. There is an economy that that can be provided for ourselves in any of those facets that you have mentioned.
Yeah, for sure. For us, we're really honored at Island Touch that a lot of people, share the same sentiment as you and kind of look towards us as as models. And I think something that's very important to understand is, our dynamics, and make sure that if you're going to try to emulate us, you have similar dynamics. Because one of the things that has enabled us to be so successful is the lack of ego, right? So like, I'm not going to try to be as good as Ataka. I don't care if his line is 20 feet long and there's women outside the room in line dancing with him. If I'm going to allow that to affect me, that's why they break up, right? So that's number one, is the egos have to be in check. You have to stay in your lane, know your worth, and know that we all have different types of worth, and we all have a different role to play in the organization that we're in. Number two is let everybody be what they're good at. Let them be good at that, and I'm so thankful to George and Tanya, Taka Alemana, that they have trusted me and have allowed me in those tough times to make certain business decisions and have supported me when no one else. And then the same thing with them when they get creative and they maybe step out a little bit on the fringe, which is what they were doing when they first started doing some of their bachata. They were doing things that no one had done before and saying, hey, I support you in your vision artistically. So one, check your ego on your team. If you have ego and it's all about you and you need to be the number one at all time and you need to be the one that got the shine, it's not going to work out. Number two, make sure that your team has a diverse set of skills and you allow each person to execute on the skill that they are best at. And then lastly, you have to have integrity. And, everything that we do, everything from teaching a class to DJing to running an event to having online classes, we try to be as honest as possible, not only to ourselves, but to our friends, fans, and customers. Because the moment you stop working with good intentions, integrity, transparency, you're just not going to make it, brother. And you might only want to be able to do this for 2 or 3 years. But for us, we want to be here 30, 40 years from now. I want to be with my little cane on stage. And next up, we have performing something I've never heard of. So those are the keys, in my opinion, to longevity.
I love it, brother. I love it. There was an example that I had heard. It was a coach training their basketball team, and they were saying, okay, so obviously, of course, everyone's in their right positions, and they were playing. It was the first string team versus the second string, or their replacements, if you will.
Right.
And obviously, of course, the starters obviously, of course, beat the second team.
Right.
And then the coach told the first team, says, okay, so now the center, you're going to be guard, and they just switched everybody up. They put everybody in the wrong position, and obviously the second team just completely mopped them. So the lesson that this coach was obviously, of course, giving to their guys is it's not about how much, necessarily the talent that you have, but it's the talent being put in the right place.
Yeah, that's good.
Is really super, super important, especially when we're talking about teams. Which is, again, you're the one that said. I'm literally just elaborating on that. So that's a huge one. Humility, egos in check, integrity, following through with what you say. I mean, there's so many people that just talk up a big game and they don't walk the walk, especially when it comes to just good business in general. And then having your teammates in the right team and allowing those people to shine, because ultimately that's just a reflection on you and a reflection on your team.
Right.
We have a request from Elandra Page.
Okay.
Could you please repeat the name of your friend / realtor in Tampa?
Juan Nunez.
Juan
Property.
Nunez.
Check him out on the gram. He does some beautiful work, custom homes. They're killing it. He's killing it so much that I'm like, hey, it's hard to get a hold of him sometimes.
What's Juan Nunez? Where can he be reached at?
He's go to Facebook, or you can look it up, Zenon Properties on Instagram.
Spell that for me.
Zenun.
Zenun
Yeah.
Properties.
That's on Instagram, or you could just look up Juan Nunez on Facebook.
Perfect. All right, I just put that up for her. Absolutely, Alondra, no problem. She's saying thank you. Perfect. Oh yeah, Rudi. Again, I don't want to cut you off, brother, but you really, at least for me, bro. I see there's people on here and they're commenting away and they're loving this stuff, bro. But for me, thank you. For me, thank you for everything that you have shared with us and all of our listeners. Again, we're just trying to deliver as much value as possible, and thank you for coming on and especially last second, because you were totally coming up here. You coming here fresh with your suit and your pin. I see you, dog. I see you, son. I see you. What's that about?
Man, thank you first of all, shout out to Jungle Rose for giving me wings so I could fly. These wings are better than the ones Red Bull give you, you know what I'm saying?
Hi.
But no, seriously, with all sincerity, I want to thank you for having me on the show. I didn't even know you did this. And when you asked me to be a part of it, I didn't ask you how many people watch it or whatever's going on, because at the end of the day, one of the things that you don't have to do this, for all of you guys who want to be successful, if you become successful, you don't have to do this, but I ask you to, please, is you need to give back, because we all had our start somewhere. And when somebody's doing something good for the scene, like what you're doing, you're bringing different instructors and different people to share, like this is what it's all about. If we're going to complain about the scene not being what we want it, then we got to support people like you who are giving a platform for the best of the best to share the ups and the downs and the good and the bad. So thank you for having me on, brother. It's been a pleasure anytime. Can't wait to see you in Shy City. It's going to be a blast. And obviously in Thanksgiving, if you don't make it for Thursday night, I'll save you some turkey.
Hey, I love it. I love it, bro. I think we have a request for Mr. Ramon de la Cruz.
Okay.
For una vaina rata.
Actually, can we go a little bit longer? And if there's anybody who has a specific question, maybe are we allowed to do that? I don't know.
Please, guys, please.
Let's finish with a 10-minute round of anybody who has questions, no matter what it is. We'll ask them. We'll say Ramon's first question was, can you say una vaina ratata? Next question. Is there anybody else? Or maybe you read some questions that were asked earlier.
Manny Morales says, saludos, integrity, the key to success. True, bien duro. For sure, for sure. Thank you, Manny. Thank you for the love, brother. Taylor Hill, thank you so much. Thank you for the love. Appreciate you guys coming on. Zeke was saying the tribute to Selena production. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, he's going to be doing a tribute to Selena and the Chicago Salsa Bachata Festival. It's going to be amazing. Zeke is one of Chicago's finest gems. He's not only an amazing instructor, but he does costumes, and he's the real deal, right? Like, so Zeke performs, teaches, does costumes, and he runs a studio. His studio, he had to upgrade it. He was doing so well. So I just love watching people like Zeke, a true success story. And rest in peace, Yoscar Sarante, very famous bachatero. For those of you who don't know who Yoscar Sarante is, fire your bachata DJ. And Zeke, one of my favorite memories in life was watching Zeke on stage with Yoscar Sarante. So that was kind of like a recent flashback where they just did something special in one of the events we did in the Dominican Republic.
Okay, we have a question from Daniel Castillo. He asks, what's next?
Woo!
Tremenda pregunta. Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate that, brother.
Thank you for the question. Everything is next, but whenever you
that's true.
to the top, you got to remember that everything that you did to get there, you got to redo that and keep doing that. And then you got to innovate and find some new things. So some of the new things that we're doing, number one, finally have all my bachata remixes and music available for download on islandtouchdance.com/music. So you don't have to go to SoundCloud anymore, Mixcloud. You can go straight to our website.
Say that for me one more time.
islandtouchdance.com/music.
Love it.
Free, download, stream, phone, it doesn't matter. Number two, at that same website, we're doing online classes now, which we're super, super excited about that. So you could learn from Ataca La Alemana, eventually from Bianca and myself. Two more really important things, virtual touch. So if you always wanted to be on an Island Touch dance team, but you don't have a director in your city, you can now join our virtual touch team, which means you learn directly from Ataca y La Alemana. They have a monthly online group coaching session, and you get the videos delivered right to your phone through our web app. So virtual touch is a really exciting thing. And then last but not least, I am hoping to start one of my own blogs.
All right.
I may be having to call you later and ask for tips on how to do this, but people have been asking me to do this for a long time, and every year I put it on my to-do list, and just other things have come up. But hopefully within the next 2 to 3 months, I'll be able to start my own, even if it's just monthly podcasts where I can start interviewing some people as well.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful, beautiful. We have another question here from Ilandra. She's saying, when in Tampa, where can we find you guys besides the Tampa Salsa and Bachata Festival, like as far as for classes and stuff, or the schools in particular?
One of the downsides to our demand out there is we travel a lot, so we're not home very often, and we don't really get to enjoy the local community. Bianca Derival on the pro team, she lives in Tampa. Ataca La Alemana and myself, we live in Orlando, and we don't get to spend as much time. But when we're in Tampa, we definitely check out Juan Tato Paredes, who has an amazing dance school and wonderful socials. Also, check out Ritmo Urbano, Georgie, does really cool stuff. And Jenny, Flava Fitness Studios. And if you need a costume, hit up Sonia Rivera. She's pretty awesome.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Ilandra, I hope he's able to answer that. Obviously, of course, once this live is done, guys, you can always, of course, rewind and be able to check out this information again. Again, bro, thank you guys. Thank you so much, man. If there's guys, feel free to ask any other questions whatsoever. We were already gone not way over an hour, but we've gone over an hour now. It seems like it's 2 seconds, but feel free to take advantage of the opportunity now. We have a Tigere and Mambo with us.
Yeah.
Giving some amazing.
Slide up into my DMs. I'll answer there too. I try to take time out every day to go through there, even if it's only for 5-10 minutes to answer questions, I don't mind. I want to help. I want to give back to the community. If it wasn't for you guys, Island Touch would not be able to live their dreams. And we've been able to travel the world and love what we do because of you guys. So the least we could do is share back some of the love. So hit us up. All right, that's the last question. I see it. We'll end on that. You cool with that, Andres?
Get it. Absolutely. Of course.
All right.
I put it up.
Why do they call me El Tigre del Mambo? All right. It started before Island Touch when I used to go out social dancing in Tampa, Florida at a club called Club Mirage. And back then, you know, we were all salseros, bro. And I mean, as a Dominican, I've always loved bachata and I dance bachata socially. But I used to learn how to dance salsa so I can get the girls to dance bachata. And I never took myself too seriously. You know, in the Dominican Republic, a tigre is kind of like a playboy, a crazy guy. And I love dancing salsa, but I was like, I'm just a tigre del mambo. I'm not the best. I'm not trying to be the best. I'm not going to be the best looking. But you're going to have a good time with me, girl.
Yeah, there you go.
Shout out, bro. Your brother took great care of me when I was in Atlanta. I love those guys, man.
Beautiful. Oh, hey, look, we just got a lot more questions, bro. So it looks like we're hanging out for a little bit longer.
Okay, all right, let's go.
Taylor Hill says, do you see Island Touch adding youth teams?
Actually, that's a great question. We have two things. One, we are adding a youth team. I think either next season or the beginning of 2020. That's actually La Alemana's passion is children. So she's been working on something. And depending on her schedule, she's either going to launch it in like 3 or 4 months from now or maybe first quarter of 2020. And hot off the presses, starting in the next 3 months, we have something called University Touch. And University Touch is basically where we're going to enable current active university students to be on our dance teams for free and learn older choreographies for free. So if you're on an Island Touch team right now, you got money, you're paid, you can afford it, you learn this season. Next season, you learn a new choreography. But University Touch will be able to learn the one you just did right now. And so that's a way of giving back to the university students and respecting that ramen noodle budget.
Hey,
everybody can afford free 99.
Free 99, yes. Love it. Awesome. Perfect, Taylor. I hope he was able to answer you there. Ramon de la Cruz. Any plans to work with Edwin, Carlos Cinta, and possibly any historian to educate the community about the roots of bachata? Oh, that's hefty.
We've been working with those guys for years. Carlos Cinta is a Chicagoan, and he's always at our festival in Chicago, Salsa Bachata Festival. We've brought him to Tampa. We've brought him to the Dominican Republic. I'm constantly promoting his musicality DVDs and workshops that he does and teach. Carlos Cinta is a very, very important and crucial part in the bachata instructional scene. And Edwin, we're actually working directly with Edwin right now to create his online classes. So Edwin will have online classes at Areito Arts very, very soon. So be on the lookout for that, Ramon. But yes, thank you for asking about them. If you don't know who Edwin Ferreira is and Dakota Romero, if you don't know who Carlos Cinta is, make sure you Google them, YouTube them, and look them up on Facebook.
Love it. Awesome. Awesome, man. Guys, thank you all so much, all you viewers that have been participating with us. We cannot tell you how much better the experience is when we're able to receive reciprocation on this. Like, you have no idea. You make our jobs fun. So thank you. Thank you guys so much for that. Really appreciate it. Any final words, my bro? I mean, you tell me, man. I could be here all night. I mean,
well, I could be, but I gotta go get ready for Chicago Salsa Bachata Festival. The DJ schedule has not been completed, and I'm getting yelled at for that. So I gotta do it. But I will leave you guys with number one. At the end of the day, we're here to have a good time. Don't take any of this too seriously. Yes, respect the culture. Yes, no bongo chata, but let's not get into a gang fight about on one, casino, on two, sensual, Dominican. We're all family. We're all people who just love to dance. Let's support one another. Support your local dance instructors. It crushes me when Nataka La Alemana come into a city and they get 700 people taking their workshop, but then none of the instructors have more than 10 or 15 people in their classes. You need to learn primarily from your local instructor. Support them, because if it wasn't for them, Ataka La Alemana wouldn't be able to come to your city. And then last but not least, support original music. Up-and-coming salsa artists, up-and-coming bachata artists, people who are sacrificing their time, their money to create brand new music, to keep the culture alive and to keep it going. Support them. I love remixes. I'm creating some remix stuff. But at the end of the day, pay and support for original music. Follow me on the gram and Tigre del Mambo. Salsa Kings, I love you. I appreciate you guys. Keep it ratata.
I love it. I love it. Bro, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you guys. Thank you all so much for contributing to this show, episode 26, Dance Industry Mastery with El Tigre del Mambo. Go ahead and check him out. Doing a lot of great things in the scene. Thank you for continuing to be an inspiration, brother. Love you, bro.
Cuídate. Same.
Dale, hablamos. Bye.